Felicia Hart is not here, so we're going to move right into number 3, agreement with the police department to enforce code of conduct in Warren County parks and recreation properties located in town limits. Mike, are you all set up almost? Okay. Chief, if you'd like to come and just give us a little overlay that you're working with the sheriff or whatever brought this to your attention. And
Absolutely. Oh, someone's here.
that's all right. You go right ahead.
All right, members of council, appreciate you giving us a few minutes this evening. What we're working on is an agreement between the town and the county to be able to enforce the code of conduct that the county currently has in place for the Parks and Recreation Department. For the past several years, it's been a bit of an issue because the police department is responsible for enforcing the laws. We're the first responders for the parks, but we cannot enforce their code of conduct. If somebody's down there and they're breaking the rules, but they're not breaking the laws, our hands are kind of tied. So it's been one of those things where we've had to try to overcome that. We've met with the county, had some meetings with Parks and Rec and the county attorney, and amended some of their code of conduct so that the language is a little bit more clear. It's actually a little bit more in line with what we're currently using in our parks and open spaces in town. So what we've got is an agreement to furnish the police services between the county of Warren and the town of Front Royal. And what this will essentially do, for example, if we show up and a person is playing their radio loud and they refuse to turn it down, or if they're cursing, we'll at that point have the teeth where we can actually trespass that person and remove them from the property without having to wait for a county personnel to show up and actually do that trespass. So the cost to the town is negligible. I mean, we're going to be doing the same response that we've always done, and they'll be providing all of the trespass forms and all of that. So there really will be no additional expense to the town.
Joe, what do you need from council on this?
We're just going to push it to the next week's agenda for approval for we can move forward.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, the only question I have, if you all are there first and say you serve a warrant on somebody or get a warrant on somebody, is that going to be an issue with the county, or is it going to give you all the right to write a summons or whatever?
Since the park is in town, we've got the authority to issue summonses or make arrests as it is. What this does is it enlarges our authority to be able to enforce their rules or the code of conduct for the park facility itself.
And they're happy with this?
Yes.
Yes, because they don't have to respond into
Well,
the town.
before, they didn't want us involved.
Well,
That's why
maybe not.
I'm wondering if we want to make sure that if you say that you and them all agreed to it, because remember, we was on the council and they asked us not to be involved with the recreational on any part of the property.
Right.
And so we didn't, and that's why it's sort of surprising to see them come back down and ask us.
Well, my recollection of it is back in, I want to say 2004, 2000, maybe even earlier, is when I think Chief Rakucci was here. There was an agreement for the town police to be kind of first responders to the parks. But I think at that time the relationship that you're referring to is the ability for the police to actually be able to enforce Parks and Rec's rules and regulations. As far as crimes, the police department would always have authority to show up and enforce the law. But this gives us the ability to enforce the rules and the code of conduct as well.
Well, I'm glad to see this, and I appreciate the working together between the county and the town.
Yes, sir. It's been a process that we started actually back probably last spring. We started working on this, and all of the code of conduct as well as the MOU has been gone over meticulously by Mr. Napier and Mr. Sonnet over here and Mr. Witt for the county as well.
yeah, this has been kind of an ongoing ever since we turned the parks over to the county, because it's always been a gray area. But thank you, Cale.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Joe, move it to the agenda. Who do we have?
Mr. Donahoe? Dombrowski?
Nebraska.
Is that
Center.
their
Yes.
first interview? Or?
Yes, sir.
All right, Bill, can you take us into close, please? Sorry, I couldn't get back with you. All right, let's go back with, start on number 4. Continue discussion for the East Main Street to come one way. Director of Planning and Zoning. Jeremy? Please, sir.
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Can you move on this way just a little bit? Up this way.
This one?
Yeah. That way I can hear it.
Sure.
Plus the
So
camera can get you
so I
there.
have a quick slideshow
Okay.
here. Simple 1, 2, 3. We're reporting back information from last time we talked about this. If you remember, you had asked for us to proceed with a public opinion survey. That's the first thing. The second thing was more details on what the VDOT standards are for head-in parking on Main Street. And the third
Head in
thing,
or back in?
head-in.
Head in.
And the third thing was traffic counts.
Well, misspelling, but that's okay.
So on the public opinion survey, the overall results are represented in this pie chart, the same thing that's in your report. We had a pretty good turnout, particularly in the first day or two, and then we had a few stragglers that came in over the next 2 or 3 weeks we had open. There was a total of 311 responses. 18 of those were paper surveys, just to give you an idea of the distribution between who likes to fill out paper surveys and who likes to fill out the online surveys. And so we had 293 online surveys completed. 65.8% said that they were against the project. 24.4% were in favor of it, and the remaining 9.8% were neutral about the project. There wasn't a significant change in most of the group types that we could break down from the survey data. We did see that the group that was the most favorable, which is actually a 50-50 split in the voting, were the non-citizens. And the largest group that were opposed to it were the people that regularly visit the downtown. So it would be people that come downtown more than twice in a week. And so here's a chart of, I guess, the more than twice a week group. Distribution of, we asked people how often do they come downtown, more than 2 times a week, between 1 or 2 times a week, and fewer than that.
Do we have any input from our chief of police on this, or no? Do you have anything, Jeremy? Gail, do you have anything that you would like to add to this? I'm not putting you on the spot, hopefully.
No, Mayor. As far as the response, typically we don't use Main Street as a route for a response because of the crosswalks, lower speed limit, more of a pedestrian traveled area. The officers will typically choose another route to go around unless they're responding to or from.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a couple more charts. If you look at just the group of the property owners, it's pretty similar to the overall results. You just take those that are property owners and what they think, and then the non-citizens, that's how they fold.
What, property owners, as in downtown property owners, or as in just own a house in Farwell?
We use the boundaries of the revitalization area because we already had a mailing list for everybody, and so we sent that out to everybody there. We also advertised it through the newsletter. We had it on social media and the town website.
We did the traffic count. We did the traffic count, correct? Jimmy, are you here? Yeah. Could you give us a little heads up on traffic?
One took care of the traffic.
How you took care of it?
It's in the presentation.
Yeah, so I can skip forward to that.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I see. My bad.
I had next the VDOT standards, and so this is the table taken from their standards that they use, which East Main Street is a standard width of 30 feet, and per VDOT standards, we need 32 feet and 1 inch. That's, like I said last time, that's primarily due to the curb overhang, which we would be fine if we allowed the vehicles to overhang into the sidewalk, but I don't think that's a very feasible option in my opinion. But technically, we would meet the width requirement if we did that.
Because they would overhang by a couple feet, is that why?
Yeah, then you'd have the hoods of vehicles 2 or 3 feet into the sidewalk.
Well, my question is, when was this VDOT standard established?
Well, this came out in our previous report. The Regional Commission had actually made us aware of it. And so I think the concern would be VDOT would allow us to do it if we wanted to, but they would potentially take away funding for East Main Street.
But you didn't answer the question. When did they establish this?
I'm not certain on the date in which they
In
established.
the last meeting, I got the impression from you that it was very recent because you handed us a piece of paper that we hadn't seen in this.
That's when it was very recent that the Regional Commission notified us of that standard.
So what concerns me is that we have an ordinance that says street width is this. So every time that somebody approaches us from going forward, they can come in and say, well, you allow variances. And it'd be the same thing here. We could allow a variance for this to happen without VDOT restriction and funding.
Yeah, I don't,
What you're telling me
VDOT's
is-
not going to prohibit us from doing it, but they.
But you just said that VDOT would hinder us in funds because we would allow that.
Possibly.
Possibly, I mean, they won't make that decision unless we decide to move.
I couldn't imagine they would take $100 away from us.
They did express
I'm
concern
just trying to
about
get the
it.
facts out so I can
Sure.
understand it.
Gotcha.
They did express concerns about it, but that's as far as they went.
Okay.
Gary, do you have anything you would like to add, ask? What do you next slide, Jeremy?
So yes, for the traffic count data, here we've got VDOT traffic counts, and we also took our own traffic counts. So VDOT's traffic counts showed from North Royal Avenue to Blue Ridge Avenue, there's 4,600 trips per day, average annual daily trips. That was a lot higher than what we had taken. I think in speaking with Robert, who conducted the traffic counts, we were feeling that the discrepancy in the numbers, maybe due to the season, could also be based on where they actually put the counters when they took their measurements. But we had, as you can see here, 2,218 average daily trips. We placed a counter here on East Main Street, which here you've got Crescent Street and Chester Street, and we also put some on the 2 side streets there. Give us an idea of how traffic was going. If you go back on the VDOT numbers, it suggests at least that there's more traffic on the eastern side, 4,600 here, and then if you go down more towards Commerce Avenue, it drops significantly. But I guess when we took our traffic data, it showed different results. It actually showed more volume heading westward in this location. And I think the reason for that may be seasonal, but it may also be that a lot of people are actually coming in on Chester and taking a right here, which is adding from where VDOT took their lower numbers further down this way.
Well, it still doesn't answer the question that I brought up in the previous meeting. If you look at Royal Avenue, you need to know who is turning right on Royal, who's turning left on Royal, or who's going further west. So, I mean, that's a crucial piece of information.
We certainly would like to get more number data. In the time we had a lot of this is what we were able to come up with. We can continue and using the counters and getting more data to add to this.
Didn't we have statistics on traveling west was 40% and traveling, or is that, what are these two?
Yeah, it's showing 60%.
Traveling
West.
from there coming, okay. And then people coming off Royal Avenue that Bill had expressed concerns over, we could either be picking them up off of Royal or Crescent, that would be going back to Chester Street, correct? So wherever they're coming from, they must be coming either from Royal
Or
or
you
something.
missed Crescent Street.
Yeah. Well, that's that little tiny thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a parking lot on the side there, people use it for, coming out of that big parking lot in the back, so. All right.
So here's just a chart showing the
Time of day.
the peak traffic was occurring, which is when we would expect during the afternoon hours.
I mean, that's telltale story right there. You know when your heavy traffic is.
Yes.
And this is strictly
Doing
on
business.
Main Street?
Yeah, this is strictly on these locations here.
Jake, do you have any questions?
Yeah, the reason why it's higher on the one side is because I was just driving over the traffic counter and when I saw that it was out.
I was following
so,
you.
Yeah. So just to prove a point. No, I had a question back on the surveys though.
Sure.
And that was just I understand that we extended the surveys to the people who live closest to this district, and I was just curious, I'm sure that the business owners had an opportunity to weigh in, but I think this originally just kind of came to the surface because of seemingly some business interest and thinking that it would be able to, basically that it would help business to be able to have more parking up front and people to be able to tour Main Street. Was there one of those surveys kind of indicative of what the business owners thought? In other words, their preference to wanting it or not? Was like a different subset of population?
Well, we asked people to answer if they were a property owner, a business owner, property owner and a business owner,
Oh, business owner.
or neither.
Okay.
And so the business owners were slightly more in favor of it, but they were still overwhelming. The majority was against it.
Did we get many of the business owners to take the survey?
I'd have to look back on
That's okay. I
the
was just
exact numbers, but it was a reasonable amount.
Okay. And then just for clarification, because it's the first I heard of it, if this did change, you said it puts us in jeopardy with losing some funding.
Well, that's a real possibility, and it's kind of really small, minute.
I don't understand how that's possible. I guess.
Well, so VDOT gives the town funds, and Gene, maybe you might want to describe it a little bit better.
VDOT gives you so many dollars per lane mile for secondary streets. And I don't know what it is, now it used to be about $3,000 a lane, per mile. So you'd probably lose maybe 1,000 or more.
Because
depending on
we
what
would
it is
basically be
today.
losing a quarter mile.
Pardon?
Yeah, and that's really
Yeah.
possibly not even, would even occur. I mean, that would be,
You know.
yeah.
But that's just helpful to understand because I wasn't aware of that.
Gene?
Well, again, I have reservations on it, but like I said before, we've done it 3 or 4 times since I've been on Public Works Director. It was left, it was west, and then it was east, and then we made it back to west, or vice versa, I don't remember exactly. Then in 1985, with the HUD grant that we got, just like what we just got, the council at that time, when we built it, put the kick-outs and things, we decided, the council decided to leave it just like it is now, 2-way. That's the way they had designed it at that time with the architects, and that's the way it's been since 1985. And I've had about 7 phone calls, every one of them that I talked to was 100% against change it to a one-way road.
Bill?
No, I think I got everything I need to know.
Gary?
Just my concerns of it, it's gonna push a lot more traffic into these residential streets. As far as Prospect.
Yeah, John's not here tonight. His children are all 4 or 6, so he's dealing with that. And he also had the same concern that Gary just mentioned, that
And
because the traffic would have to go somewhere, and that was gonna be a concern, and I'm just passing that on. Let me catch Chris next. Chris?
Okay. You know, again, going back to back when I was here and doing this work, and, you know, again, you have people coming from the west side going to the east side. You have the east side going to the west side. And at one time with the police department up where we used to be, you got a lot of traffic going in that direction, and the post office. Now both of them are gone, per se. So now it's pretty much maybe, I'm sure more coming off Commerce Avenue going west than the people coming from the west going to the east. But the problem that I have, my main concern is, Main Street is the only through street we have until we get to South Street. Basically, I mean, you got a couple little narrow roads, and you're also going on the north side corridor. It's the only through street until you get down to Second Street. And so, if this goes one way either way, that's gonna overload you Second Street, or everybody's gotta go to South Street, to either go east or west to east, depending on which way you go.
I think
So that's where I run into a problem.
Yes, it is, and this all came about because of all the new businesses that are coming and locating, the need for more parking. You know, how much is a parking space worth?
It's really gonna get, what, 5 more parking?
Well, they may, I think maybe 11, maybe, something like that, but, and that's, yeah, but it depends on where they mark line. Joe, are we doing anything outside, like in the parking lots? I know the chief is working on some signage and, you know, different times of parking. We got the microbrewery coming, it's gonna
Yeah,
be.
we are addressing parking, but also part of the CDBG is also included into that parking, right, Jeremy?
Right.
There's
funding in there for us to develop a plan to look at what properties we could potentially acquire to make a public parking area and add parking on Jackson Street.
All right, I guess the next question is, council want to put it on the agenda for,
I gotta add something.
sure, go ahead.
The original business owners that approached me, there are 3 brand-new restaurants coming in downtown. My concern is parking, as we've all stated. But the second concern is, I'm very concerned about creating another South Street with pedestrian issues. And the amount of traffic I see going west, which just shows me, is really evident, because I see them going completely west. When we add that extension onto West Main Street, that's going to be another loop for them. So we're going to create another South Street, is the way I'm looking at it. And that's very concerning, and that's why I asked for this study, so we could fully understand it.
Yeah, I had 2 people. My 2 people didn't care which way they went. They said turn it into a walking mall. So that's 2 people that called me. So, you know, that was their opinion, and I wanted to bring that forth.
Let the record show that Hollis wants a walking mall.
You know, and maybe someday that may be what it evolves into. Nobody knows, but at least awful short, and then you would have traffic coming both ways with nowhere to go. Jake, do you want to move forward? You, Bill, Gary, do you want to move this forward to the agenda?
Well, I don't want to. It sounds like most people are going to be in disagreement with this, and I don't necessarily know that we have to move forward to a vote if it's going to be that way, right? I mean,
we can take consensus.
What I would like to really do is kind of solve a problem. And if I think this originated from, like you said, the parking, then I really would like to continue on working on initiatives to assist with the parking and lit, friendly walking areas from parking to our stores to answer the problem, instead of, you know, shutting this down, which I really appreciate this, Jeremy, and all the time you put into it. But instead of just shutting this down and letting it go.
Well, they can add this to the mix of other, you know, questions or, yeah, I mean, I understand.
I'd like to be able to respond back to the business owners and say, hey, we looked at this, it's not, business owners and the citizens, it's not the greatest idea at this time, but here's some of the things we're going to be doing to, you know, hopefully open up some more parking options, get people closer to your stores, because I think ultimately that's what they want.
Okay, yeah, we can.
I got one more
Sure,
question.
go ahead, Bill.
Chief, I was downtown this morning walking, and of course we had ice on the cars. And I was downtown extensively past 2 hours, along with Councilman Morrison in our walk. But I noticed 2 or 3 cars were fully iced. So they're definitely extended into business hours and extended over the 2-hour limit. Is that part of the signage issue on?
Yes, sir. We're working on trying to get, I've met with the judge. We're actually working on trying to straighten out, because there's, up and down the street, there's a few little problem areas that we need to address before we can really dive into enforcement.
That is an issue with the parking.
Yes, sir.
So if we don't enforce the rule, why have the sign?
The
I'm
problem
not
is,
picking on you. I
no,
just
but the problem is that the signs don't agree. So that's the part that we've got to fix, so that we can move forward with the enforcement initiative.
Because there were at least 3 to 4 or 5 parking spots. And it must be residents that are living above park on the street at night, and they don't bother to move their vehicle, or business owners.
Well, it sounds like Jake has a good idea to just let it be part of the study that I know you're doing with the parking areas and the information we've gathered, use it. We don't have to put it on the agenda. We'll just let it ride. Is that correct, Jake?
Well, I mean, that was just my suggestion. If people
Sure.
feel passionately about having it on the agenda, that's fine, and we'll vote on it, but I just.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be voted on. I mean, it's, unless anybody wants it to.
Well, you know, again, I mean, we put a survey out. The survey comes back with almost 2/3 of those who answered said no, they didn't want it. Who are the people that purchase on Main Street? The citizens. And to me, they're telling me they don't want it. So I can't see why we put a whole lot of emphasis in this, but they already see that 75% of the citizens that responded to the survey that were interested in it, why we even consider it at all. That's my feelings, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a citizen, and I do buy a lot of stuff on Main Street. It's not whether it's east or west, has no problem, but I know there's a lot of people in this 75% that do shop Main Street, and they're telling me that they don't want it one way. And that's what we're here for. We were voted in by the citizenry.
Okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, they spoke, they said 75% don't want it. Those that didn't take the survey, that's not my problem. I'm just seeing the ones that took the time to make the survey, telling me 75% doesn't want it changed. And to me, that's the way I'd probably vote if it came to a vote on it at the town council.
Well, I can appreciate that standing, and I don't have a problem with what you just said. But by that same token, we got $700,000 coming from the state, and part of it is going to be looking at the parking situation downtown. So why wouldn't we leave this in the loop, even if we don't vote on it right
Well, I
now?
don't have any problem leaving the loop.
Okay,
I don't
that's
need
what I
that.
want to clarify.
I'm just saying, though, that if it comes to the point of going to the council, at this point, I'd have to vote against it personally.
Yeah, I would
That's what
too.
the
I don't,
citizens-
not disagreeing, but I'm saying, I like to leave it in our,
Sure. But if the $700,000, I mean, $700,000 only gonna go so far. We didn't be able to do a whole lot of anything for $700,000. Because I know what the cost is of doing these projects. But what if they do come up with something, Bill, I'm not for it.
I've also talked to business owners down here that own parking lots in behind their buildings. And they're very concerned about the usage of their building, parking for not only their customers, but people that are visiting here or live in the downtown.
Festivals, yeah.
You know, we've got this whole mixture of things going on, and I'm not for throwing this out until we fully understand exactly what's going on down there.
Oh, I agree.
All right, Jeremy, retain all the information that you've got for us for the Main Street and see if it works into your all's plan for parking, okay?
Okay.
Good deal. That way we didn't waste any valuable time.
If anybody's interested in viewing the full survey information, it's loaded under the box program. If you go under there, and you can see all the responses and more detailed information.
All right, let's move on to continue discussion of the property maintenance ordinance revision. I guess that would be, let's see, is that correct? Paper out here. Number 6, I'm sorry. No, no, we're good, yeah. Property maintenance, all right, Jeremy, you're up. 10 minutes.
This was an opportunity to bring this back to council before the public hearing that's scheduled for this next meeting. And just to see if the council has any questions, also to give you a copy of the latest and greatest draft, which includes the removal of the rental inspection program from the property maintenance code draft. So I've gone through a few renditions of changes since you directed staff to do that, and this has been reviewed by the county building official as well as myself and the town attorney. I think it's in pretty good shape, if that's the way council wants to go.
I have one question. What would the benefit be if we went with this? What is the benefit? What would it entail as far as what is property maintenance? We would have someone maybe shared with another county or town, but what would it benefit? And who would we go after? What type of house? What area?
Well, it would apply townwide.
I know nothing about this property maintenance.
And it's really the next step you can take to start requiring minimum maintenance standards with properties. Right now, really the only tools we have are to declare something a nuisance, and the legal challenge with that is, one, we have to get a public health official to put in writing that it's an imminent threat to the public's safety, and we've really been challenging to be able to do this. This will help us ward off those problems before they get to that level. Most localities do it on a complaint basis, so it's dealing more with the properties that are more of a concern, and that with limited staffing, we would probably need to go in that direction. That would allow us to start making owners do certain minimal improvements to their properties.
Outside, inside?
Outside.
Outside.
The only chance we would be able to get inside is if they invited us in, which would be unlikely.
This is a question for both Jeremy and Doug, but it's my belief that if we do this way, that we will be able to add ordinances as we see fit, as far as property maintenance.
That would be addressed by
Am I correct on that, Doug?
I wouldn't say as you see fit, but you will.
Or as council sees fit?
Yeah, it will allow some flexibility in adding ordinances, that's correct. More than we have.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doug.
Gene?
Well, you know, Chris and I talked about this up at my home the other day, and we decided we'd like to go to Culpeper and talk to them about it, because they just have passed a portion of it. But I couldn't find that. You had mentioned 104, 5, and 6. Where is that? What's that under? Is that under the state code or under something we have?
So this is not the property maintenance code. This would be our ordinance adopting the state property maintenance code.
Well, I know that. But where can I find that section 104, 5, and 6? I want to see what Culpeper did.
I'll bring you a copy.
Okay.
I got the work, I just forgot to bring I got a copy.
What about Strasburg? Did Strasburg pass? Are they not doing anything?
Strasburg's adopted the same thing as what we have here.
Are they moving forward, or they just haven't did anything yet?
They adopted it 2 or 3 years ago, but they haven't enforced it because they haven't hired any staff to administer it.
Gotcha.
Okay, going back to the question that I asked, then you had mentioned Warrenton had done. Yeah, have you got to respond back to them? Because before I'm going to pass this, I'm going to go talk to somebody or some locality that's enforcing something of this magnitude. Because to me, it's not addressing, it's addressing one issue. And Doug, what did they say at the General Assembly? Has that been brought forward yet? Through the House?
I haven't been able to look at it today because I've been so busy doing other stuff, but I can get back to you tomorrow.
Were they supposed to discuss it today?
Yeah, that's what I
In the House?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I think we need to be sure that, make sure whether they give us the rights of the town and city, number one. If they do, then we don't need that.
I think this part with the cities, I think they're gonna allow us to stay under the Virginia. We're not gonna be able to do like the cities do.
That's an open question right now.
Oh, it's open, okay.
It's still an open question.
I thought they admitted it back to when they was coming out of.
That was a recommendation of the subcommittee, but talking to Delegate Collins, he said he was going to advocate for us to the whole committee to keep it as it is.
As
we
intact.
recommended.
Okay,
Yes.
come out of subcommittee. That was Wednesday morning at 7:30. That's when it hit the subcommittee.
Yeah,
Okay.
and in the Senate, bill, it has been passed the way we asked for.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, oh, okay, well, yeah, we
So-
may be,
So when they do the crossover, the reconciliation,
Yeah.
even if it's not passed in the House, there's still an opportunity for the Senate version to be passed in our favor. So it's still alive.
Also, I talked to Ben Klein, who's a representative from Amherst. In fact, I went to the delegate thing Saturday, and he was there, and he's running for Senator Goodlatte, Representative Goodlatte.
he worked good at in the 90s.
Yeah, and I talked to him about this, and he said, well, I said, let me look into it a little further. And so, because they, like I told him, I said, it's supposed to come up on the floor today. And he said, well, let me check. So he took, I got to give him my name and the whole 9 yards. So I'm hoping that maybe, talking to some of our other representatives, that maybe we can get a little bit extra push in the House when it comes up on the actual floor for vote. And so, that's where I'm at. But I'd still like to go to somewhere that's enforcing this particular thing. If it's warranted. or-
When you gonna go to Culpeper, you and Chris?
Well, Culpeper's only got 3 pieces of it.
Yeah, Warrenton is the one.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for a response. The gentleman that runs it has been out of the office, but he should be getting back.
If you, Gary, if you can get me
Yes, sir.
the 3 that I asked for, that's fine. But,
Well, we can,
are we ready to do the public hearing? Oh, we can have it, but that don't mean.
we've already have, yeah, we can have free information if somebody wants to come. But I think, getting the information that you're asking for, going to see hands-on, speaks volumes. If anybody has any problem, we can just kind of like, put it to the side for now until we get more information. Gary?
I was just telling Gene, I'll give you a copy, I'll get it tomorrow, but you can go online, it's the Virginia Maintenance Code.
Well, I just want to know where you can find it. I can
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah.
But I looked today, and I never did find those sections.
Yeah, let's find out how it really works and if it is working in the real world.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And, again, if Chris and I go and we see it's a positive, then I would like to request or ask some of the others, like Bill,
Doug?
that you could go and someone else. We can't go 3 at a time, but.
Well, I was going to
Do
just
it.
get ready to ask Doug if the mayor could join 2 council members and going to,
That makes it a public meeting.
okay.
I've
That's what I
got
thought.
that information too.
Oh, you have?
I can send
Can
that
you
to
email it to me?
Yeah, and also, I researched, didn't quite finish it today, but Winchester's been doing a lot of that. And I've got all the Winchester information, but they reference a lot of the state code. So I'm gonna put together all the state code stuff tomorrow, and I can send that to you too.
There was a good article in the Winchester Star recently about Winchester. They've had a property maintenance code for several years, and they're thinking about expanding it. I can track that down and send that to you.
All I want to see is the same thing that we're looking at. I don't want to see the whole property maintenance code. I just want to see the section that we're considering, because I think it's a mile long otherwise.
Well, the public hearings for adoptance of the whole property maintenance code, minus the rental inspection
Yeah,
program.
right.
That is scheduled for
Monday.
Monday night. Okay. Yeah, we can still do it for gaining,
Well,
information.
it's Tuesday night.
Well, yeah, Tuesday night, yeah. All right, Joe, we're just gonna kind of, get some more information. Yeah, Monday's holiday.
No, Monday's not off.
Yes, it's, 16th is holiday. Yeah, following week. Okay. That's right, we're getting old. Keep forgetting. Okay, Joe, well, we're just gonna kind of let this kind of,
Right, we'll still have a
Like here a
public
little
hearing
bit.
next week.
we'll gather some more information, because I'm still not clear on exactly what we're focusing on. And I think with Chris and Gene going down, and Doug, if there's any way possible that I could go, if I can I announce that I'm going, or can I take a newspaper reporter with me in my car or something?
Take your clerk with you so you can come in.
Oh, okay, well, let's forget that, because she's got work here to do. All right, you two guys, up to you two guys, bring some information.
So it's not a public hearing.
Yeah, it is a public hearing next Monday.
Okay. Jake, do you have anything to add?
Open the public hearing for it.
anything to add, or ask any questions, Chris? Good. Just move right along with it. Yes. All right. Continue discussion for IT Federal pumping station. How about the road, Joe? When we gonna?
We're not ready to talk about the road just
Okay.
yet.
Pumping station. All right, let's do the
yeah.
pumping station.
Yeah, Jeremy's up again.
Okay. Yep. Jeremy's. Who's your man, lady? Mark. I mean, I would think you'd probably eat too
No,
much
I
lunch.
really don't want to go, but
Yeah, we would over.
if 3 of you go, then I gotta go.
Just won't be.
So the staff team is working on this. We're about ready to move forward with the RFP for the pumping station. So what we've tried to do is to pull out what needs to get done with that and move forward with that as soon as possible. We're not quite ready to move forward with the road, but we should be soon. And so the first, the handout that's going around is, the first page is the cost estimate for the pump station. And that differs from the 160,000 estimate because it's adding in the gravity main and the force main in with that. So this is everything we would need to be operational.
That's 335, 997.
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you need from council tonight?
This is pump station 106.
What do you need from council tonight?
We would like to be able to get permission to move forward with issuing the RFP, to get this out on the street for the lift station, along with some of the infrastructure that's required to service the IT Federal building.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Has it been passed through the DEQ?
I don't think that would be required at this point.
To put a bid out without them having approval, we might have to change one.
Doug, anybody?
I'll have to check on that.
But
I
as far
thought
as,
those were,
as far as giving them the okay, let's move forward, is anybody,
We can't move forward, we've already got, what are you talking about RFP? You talking about construction? RFP's already under design by Pinelli, so you're talking about going out and getting estimates for construction, right?
Correct.
yes. That's what we're talking about.
DEQ has approved the pump station on the site plan that was approved by Boulder. This does, this modifies the details of that pump station a little bit, but I don't think they're gonna.
Again, having done this in the past, without DEQ's blessings, they might come back saying, we gotta change the whole process.
I think tonight, though, Gene, we're just giving staff the ability to move forward, and if they hit that bump with
You
DEQ.
can't move forward with something that we don't have the approval. I want to see if the DEQ can approve the design.
Makes no
Well-
difference, we're, Joe,
It's my understanding that this is included in the DEQ permit that they already obtained. It's on the Bowler design, but I will have to verify that tomorrow morning.
I mean, if it's approved, I'm 100% for it,
Yeah.
let's go with it.
Yeah, it's my understanding that it is already there and ready for us to start, but I'll have to verify that with Jennifer
To
tomorrow,
put it out for bids.
to put it out. for
and Gene, what this also does, it kind of coincides us with the building of the IT, so that they'll both hopefully take off, because they're looking at a timeline of maybe 8 months at the most, so
Right.
we need to get off the pot and get moving on this. So Joe, looks like everybody's going to be in agreement, let you move forward. Okay?
Okay, yeah, we're still working on the road design. We noticed, we uncovered an issue with the storm drain on the road design that has to be addressed before we get ready for an RFP on that, so we're addressing that now. So,
Good deal. All right, continue discussion on the healthcare. We were given our proposal annual budget, and in the budget is balanced. Joe has a presentation on healthcare. Apparently, we're able to maintain what we have on healthcare, but if anybody would like to ask a question, Jake, I know you pretty much, you're the question guy here, so yeah. I guess what Joe has given us in our balanced budget is we would leave, and we could leave in this budget, the healthcare the way it is.
right, but I want to give you all some food for
Yes,
thought
yeah.
here. Give me just 2 seconds to get.
Sure.
my presentation. Was it up?
Yeah, I was just trying to get everybody's thoughts, but I'm hearing about this healthcare stuff. You know, if we can maintain, yes, if we can't maintain, we need to cut.
Which one is it for the Apple?
It's computer went digital. I think.
Okay. All right, I just have a few slides to kind of go over where we're at. As Hollis said, with the only a 2%, 2.5% increase in premiums, and once we started putting the budget together, I was able to balance the budget without touching healthcare at this moment. Just wanted to review what we did last year. Last year, we removed the Key Advantage Expanded Plan. Some people call it the Cadillac Plan. We removed that. We added the Key Advantage 500 plan to our group last year, so we have the availability to offer 3 plans in this program. So this year we offered the 250, the 500, and the high deductible. With that change last year, we did see a savings of $27,000 in healthcare costs. Wanted to take a few moments, because we did have some discussion at the last work session about the differences in plans. So we put up, we got a little chart here to talk about the 250, the 500. Now currently we do not offer the 1,000, we offer the high deductible. According to our plan, we can only offer 3 of these. But we wanted to bring focus to the point of not just with the change in deductibles, but as you can see, the out-of-pocket expense increases as well as the other covered services. There are not set limits, but 20% after deductibles. So that kind of gives you an idea of where those plans lie. I've got Julie Bush here, as well as Laura McIntosh, if we have any questions answered in detail about the plan. This is our current coverage. I know it's a little dense, but this is where we're at today. We basically, under our current plan with TLC, we really only have 2 options to try to save money or reallocate. One is to change of plans, remove the 250 plan and add the 1,000. Therefore, we'd offer a 500, 1,000 and high deductible. The other option we would have with the current plan is to change employee contributions to the plans. This slide here is where I changed the employee contributions on the 250. I shifted a 5% increase on the employees, employee plus one, and employee family. That would reap about a savings of about $120,000. Okay, it's kind of like we still keep the program intact, but we adjust the employee contributions on the top end. We can still get the same savings if we just remove the K250 altogether and fully funded 100% for the 500. We're still getting about $100,000 savings. So either way you go, removing the KA 250 and changing some of the percentages are going to reap the same savings. So I'm basically trying to find out what council's direction would like, the direction that council would like me to take with healthcare.
So which one is in the budget?
The current plan is still fully funded, just like our current year is fully funded.
And you got a balanced budget?
And I got a balanced budget.
Leaving at 250.
Right.
Key Advantage.
Right. Keeping the 250 Key Advantage, yes.
That's 250 means 250 deductibles, is that right?
Yes.
Is that a different?
Yeah.
I'm not much
no.
on it.
Actually, that's a
Sure.
good way to think of it. When they call all their plans Key Advantage. So you got Key Advantage 250, 500, and 1,000.
But that 250 means a deductible.
Right. Deductible 250. and that's the capstone, and then there's those other expenses. Basically, the budget is balanced with the same healthcare parameters that are in place in this budget. I did not play with any of it because I didn't have to,
Including the 2.5%.
including the 2.5%. That 2.5% was a blessing, because some of the other localities we've heard have seen 8% increases, so we
County
really
was
was.
20.
Huh?
County was.
And the county was 20.
Yeah.
So, you know, we really missed a bullet here, and I didn't have to play with it to balance the budget.
And we can still, you know, for another year, extend our insurance for our employees. Jake?
So just a couple comments. So we added the Key Advantage 500 last year, and one person took advantage of it, right? So we got rid of the Cadillac, everybody shifted to the next Cadillac, and only one person took 500.
That's correct.
So nobody's using the plan, the option that we put in there. Because why would you, when you could get the 250 and you're 100% funded? So I do see that as one problem. Yeah, we're offering 3 plans, but nobody's taking any of the other plans. Why? Because it doesn't make sense to take those plans. So everybody's going to stay on the 250 so long as it's there. The 2.5% I think is amazing. I don't think anybody saw that coming. What I'm concerned about is if we don't start making incremental changes, then when we get a 20% tax hike like the county, then all of a sudden it's going to be stick it to our employees.
Yes.
And so my suggestion from the very beginning has been a staged approach to start, you know, phasing back the health insurance, the contributions, the total cost, because the 9-10% premiums hits to us were significant, let alone a 20% increase. Thank God that's never happened. But when's the last time we've had a 2% increase? Have we ever?
Well, we actually did have a 0% increase, and that was 12, 13, or something right on it. Yeah. But ever since then, it's been 7 or 8.
So that's my concern is when we can keep it this way because we can pay for it, but then, you know, what happens is that starts to go back up again, and we spent all the time
And we
kind
have
of
to
researching this.
Start cutting.
Yeah, but we'll have to cut at a drastic rate, and then that's going to be a bigger impact for employees. The other point I wanted to make is you technically, even if we had the 250 versus the 500, the out-of-pocket expense changes to employees, which I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I believe that if our percentages increase based on our total spend annually as part of a pool of people who are bought into this plan, isn't that correct? So if we continue to have premium benefits, which allows us to have a higher spend, we're at even more risk for increased premiums every year. Whereas the Key Advantage 500, and I know this isn't the most diplomatic way to say it, but there is a little bit more of a disincentive to utilize some of the services because it goes straight to co-insurance or deductible and co-insurance versus a flat $200 or $300 for an ER inpatient visit, $400 for an inpatient visit. I just wanted to throw that out there as a point. So even though they might be the same plans on paper or the same cost on paper, one's still going to have a higher rate of spend because of utilization than the other one.
You know, last year, the insurance premium was kind of broke and we fixed it. I'm thinking this year it's
But we
not
didn't
broke.
fix it. Nobody used it.
Well, nobody used it, but we thought we fixed it, and we made modifications, we made changes, and nobody used it. Nobody took advantage of it. This year, we have the pleasure of a very small increase that we can pass on to our employees. Yes, next year, if they hit us with a 20%, but the employees will have to understand that the next year is going to be next year, this year is this year. This is the year they're looking for now. And I totally understand that if we get a 10 or 20% increase, the employees are just going to have to understand that we have to deal with it at that point. I'm pointing to a balanced budget that staff has worked numerous hours putting together, and they really didn't have to get into the insurance part because it was affordable and doable this year and maybe not next.
Does the balanced budget include compensation changes?
I have that piece, but I'll talk to you about that.
Also has.
Similarly to the way we've already discussed it.
He already has 1.7.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, we're gonna talk about it,
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
right after this, I think.
Right? Yep, yep.
The budget.
Well, we kind of joined in both over here, so. Because Jake's answers and questions he's looking for
Yeah.
revolves around that.
My thought is there are things we can do, and I didn't have to dip into this to balance the budget. My thought is if we're gonna make some wholesale changes, if we can do it and give the staff and employees somewhat of a notice. The thing that we're up against right now is by April 1st, we've got to determine what our plan is gonna be, which is, right now is what basically we have to do.
Gene?
Joe, I have several questions. Number one, percentages. What is the family percentage that we pay? Right today, and I'm single as well.
Depends what plan.
Well, maybe-
29.
It's 29% for employee plus one, employee plus family.
Whoa, no, wait a minute. That's not, can't be right. It's not 29%.
You, the premium, it's, the town pays 71%, the employee
Okay,
pays
that's what I want,
29%.
71%.
71%.
Okay. What about single?
Single, for the 250,
Okay, I know.
95 for the town, 5% for the employee.
Okay, now, what was the total cost last year? 1.7 something million.
This year's estimate is going to be 1.7, about 1.7 million for the town this year. I think last year might have been 1.6 something. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head.
It's about a 2% increase.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm saying that, Jake brought up a good point last meeting, that, and we have not talked about it a lot, but I think we need to talk about a amount, 1.6, 1.7, 1.75, and instead of going through this whole process every year, allow you as our manager to make the best decision for your employees, staff. And that way, we don't have to get involved in this. We just give you a figure, and you work with that figure. If that means 5% increase, 2% increase, or whatever, then you're gonna have to deal with that. in that
When would we
relationship.
give that to him, Gene?
Huh?
When would we give staff that number? That's a magic number that,
Well, I think that's why I just asked, how much it costs us today. But we could say, as of right now, we could say, we're not gonna spend over 1.7 million or whatever that figure is next year. And that way, you've got a number to go with, and we know a number that we've gotta know what's gonna be in the budget.
realistic.
A realistic number, yeah.
Yeah.
And that way, we don't get involved and say, we gotta add 2%, 4%, 8%, whatever.
What do you think, Joe?
I think to me, that would be a simpler way for us and a simpler way for you. And if you want to pick 500 plan, 250 plan, or 1,000 plan, and that's the employees, whatever, then that's the way we need to do it. Instead of going, we've been talking about this thing now for 6 months.
2 years.
Pardon?
2 years.
Okay, 2 years then. And we're no closer now to come up with a figure or results of the figures yet. So I think we need to sit down as a council, even could do it even tonight, and say, we're gonna allocate $1.7 million for next year, and that's what you do.
Well, Gene,
Whatever
I
goes
think
up.
we would have to come to a work session to discuss.
Well, I didn't mean to do it tonight,
Yeah.
I'm just saying we could.
Well, you said tonight, so.
Okay, but what I'm saying is.
Or a
we need-
percent, or a percent of employees' salaries,
Okay.
because you're gonna have
Anyway.
employees every year.
But I don't wanna see us spend all this time on this usually every year. You know.
What's your thoughts, Joe? Kind of like, know
I
it's
feel,
kinda
I feel like my hands are tied with our current program. You
I do
know,
too.
there's
Would
only
that
so
give
many
you-
options
would
we
that
have,
give
and we're
you
just shifting
a
money around.
more workability to work with?
I think the dollar value or the percentage of reduction would be fine to work with us. I think at some point, we're gonna have to decide to maybe venture out and see whether the health plans are available, at what cost. Because like I say, right now, all we're doing is shifting numbers around on this plan, and we're at the mercy every year,
Sure.
you know?
Well, I mean, I agree, but I disagree respectfully. I think that this seems, the more I've got to know this plan, it seems like a good plan. I mean, it seems like there's good options in there. I think really where we're between a rock and a hard place is where nobody wants to talk about it, nobody really wants to get in there, and that's the percentage that we're covering as an employer and the deductibles of the plan, the high deductibles. I mean, shoot, even the $500, $1,000 deductible, or a perfect example of that is we paid 100% of the 500 plan. 100% of it was covered for employees. One person took advantage of it. So it shows you that
Were they made aware? I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah,
they
they'd
were.
rather pay for the extra
Sure.
5% because it was.
I'm just making sure that,
But so I think the shifting is going to have to happen, and the change of plan and how much we're willing to pay as an employer, because there's I'm making this number up, but let's say there's $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 worth of movement in there, depending on how this is sliced around. It's just a matter of whether or not we are committed to doing that or not.
so what is council,
Without changing to other health insurance plans.
what's council's opinion as far as setting a dollar amount to work with? This is what you got to work with next year? I guess. Julie, what do you think about that? Let me ask you, you're the lady that has to figure out the numbers.
Well, my concern would be if we have a really bad year, we have a couple of open heart surgeries, preemie or something like that, that could force us for a huge, 10% increase. Even
Well,
though
in
we're in
general,
a
is it a
pool,
good
they're
idea to
going
give
to
you that
look
money?
at that.
Is it a good idea to give you that money to work with so that
It's a
you
good
kind of
place
keep?
to start.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, we're always looking for a place to start.
I like this. I mean, our employees like this coverage.
Yes.
I'd say a lot of the localities do because they have this coverage.
I mean, ultimately, it's gonna be up to the council, but you
And
guys working
the
with
other
that a lot.
issue would be to have to go out and see what someone else would offer us.
Gotcha. But once we leave VML, we don't get back in, that's,
And once we leave local choice, that's what we
I mean, I'm thinking Warren County had, I think it was called Anthem Healthkeepers, or, anyway, they're not here anymore singly, but you can have it if you're a company. And then the people that had that health care was forced into Cigna. So would our employees fall into that same vulnerability that maybe Cigna wouldn't cover us anymore and we move into another? I mean, there's a lot of areas that you're experienced in more so than.
I think if we had to go out with an RFP, it would be with the understanding that whatever we have covered now, we're gonna go, they have to provide that coverage equally. We're not gonna jump and say, these 6 employees aren't gonna be covered,
And I
okay?
don't think Gene's looking for a simple way. We're looking to streamline more so instead of continuously.
I think an RFP would be a waste of time again. And if you're asking for apples to apples, they're going to come back with, the same coverage and the same cost. It's not. They do the same exact thing as local choice. It really comes down to what plans we want to offer and how much we're willing to pay out of our, as an employer, how much we're willing to cover. So as long as we're saying, just make it simple. As long as we're going to say we're going to cover 100% of the Key Advantage 500, then we RFP it out, and then we get Anthem or Cigna or United or whatever to come back, they're going to give us the same cost if we're going to cover it at 100%, just like we would on the local choice. I'm convinced that the local choice is a good insurance company. It's not the local choice that's jacking up our cost. It's what we're committed to continue paying on the cost and keeping our deductibles low. So if I were to just be really, really candid, and I know that this doesn't always serve me well, if the way I look at it is if we took the Key Advantage 250 and we actually put that out there for people to see and say this is what our taxpayer dollars are paying for, I imagine that there'd be a little bit of an outrage on that because that doesn't exist anywhere else but here. And that's my whole point of looking at the sustainability going forward of this plan. We cover it today. It may, as Julie said, if somebody has an open heart surgery or whatever, or the pool has a harder year, I don't think it would happen if it just happened here. I think if the pool had a harder year, we could be stuck with 10 to 15%, and then what happens with the council at that time? And I could just imagine if we tried to change this dramatically and quick, it would be a huge uproar from our employees, because it'd be basically penalizing them.
Or we penalize the general public.
That individual's gonna pay a higher rate.
Well, if you do that, but I mean, you said paying 100% of the whatever plan we go with.
Well, Julie said to me one time in our discussion is that, and based on the numbers that Joe just gave us, it sounded like to me everybody jumped into one pool because it was the best coverage. Now, the way I look at that, Julie told me that we have a lot of people going to the emergency room, you know, when they could go to, what's the other one? What's the one we got downtown here?
I have no idea.
Urgent care and
Urgent
medical care.
They're going to the emergency room rather than urgent care or health care or whatever it's called. And the companies I've worked for, that $500, you know, it covered my prescriptions, any visits, you know, it came out of my pocket first. And what I'm hearing is everybody's jumping into that because it's the best coverage. But its average right now is serving us, we're paying for insurance per employee for about $5,715. I think that's about right. Is what based on the numbers you just gave me. So, I mean, that's a good benefit, and I don't want to be negative about it, but it's still a lot of money when you're looking here as a citizen of the town, because I do hear about insurance coverage from people that talk to me. It is a great benefit.
Well, see, that's why I say we need to set a figure and let our manager make that decision on what is the best plan for our employees.
So I'm okay. I think the fact that Joe did a balanced budget is incredible with all the things that, again, like we're to talk about this. I'm okay with moving forward with the April deadline. But what I would ask, I think my ask would be, I still think that we should have that plan. Obviously, I've talked about this ad nauseum. If we can vote or have a resolution on, or however the correct legal way of doing it is, on adopting something we're going to do in the next 2 years, whether it's a percentage or a capped fee or a plan moving different plans, or our commitment to contribute a certain amount of the money for 2019, fiscal year 2019, then I would approve. Then I would vote, approval on that part of the budget, as long as it's done before the budget's adopted.
So is everybody on board this year to leave the insurance the way it is?
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I still
okay.
say we need to start now, don't wait till next year in November or December, and then all of a sudden we're back in the same process again. Let's make a
That's what they
decision. I know,
yeah.
but let's get it together, make a decision within, say, the next 30 days. And say, we're gonna spend X number of dollars, a percentage, or whatever we decide to do, and not wait till the last minute. That's what we do every year. As Jacob said, we've been on it 2 years. And we're no closer today than we were 2 years ago, apparently. So I want to see some action and be proactive and not be negative when it comes to the end of the year. Just be proactive so Joe knows what he can do. And if it takes whatever, hey, you're the whiz in insurance, I'm not. But I do know one thing. If I set a limit on my own personal life at $150 is the only thing I can afford, that's what I set it to be. If that is the town policy, which should be, then that's where we go. If it's 1.7, that's where we go. And then whatever that 1.7 purchases, that's what we gotta go with.
Joe, I'll get with you next couple of days, and we'll see how we want to proceed with this on the agenda to home in on something more concrete.
I can put it for the March work session. 20th work session is getting pretty
That'll
stacked.
give staff
But don't get me wrong, House, let me tell you this. in the middle of this budget year, let's don't get involved in that right now. We got so many other things to on that. Let's wait till after we pretty much get the budget 100% approved, then we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And that gives us 6 months to deal with it.
Well,
Is that right, if that's okay with the rest of them?
so that, just to be really transparent on that one, the only reason why I asked for before the approval of the budget is because frankly, that's the leverage in the budget. Like, we're gonna be voting on passing a budget. I wanna know if we're not gonna do a change this year after 2 years of asking for it, then I'd like to have some sort of resolution before we approve or vote on a budget. Yes. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen until next year.
I mean, if you want to do it right away, I don't care.
No,
I just
not
want
right
to
You
get
already didn't get
We have-
notification of the 2.5% until what, last month?
Yeah, it was late January.
So
We had already had the budget pretty much built.
right.
We were
Like
already.
I said, Joe, you and I will get together in a few days and we'll figure out how we want to proceed on the agenda so everybody's
I mean,
comfortable. I understand Jake, I understand Gene, so we'll,
I'm not
I want
asking you to
direction.
get it done right
You know,
this
I need direction.
You need
what I
direction,
need.
but we'll
I mean,
figure out
I
where-
can play with these numbers all day long, but
Yeah,
unless I know
exactly.
exactly what y'all want.
From this side, I don't see why we can't go ahead and give him direction that says, there is no other option out there right now. And he's done a good job on this healthcare piece as far as I'm concerned. So we ought to give him direction that says, move forward on that piece of the budget.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you-
yeah, we already gave
Yeah,
that to
yeah.
him. We already
Okay.
gave that to him.
That's what I want to make sure.
We're just talking
That
about
makes sense.
next year. And what we've been talking about for the last 2 years.
Well, he won't have that answer next year until about the same time, January 2019. So you're going to push him right up to that magic date, January
No, I'm
20.
not. I want to see us agree to a number and say, this is the number we're going to put in the budget. Whether it goes up 2%, 4%, 8%. We're going to put 1.75 or whatever it is, that's it. And that's where we work for Joe works for. And that way we know and Joe knows what we got to deal with.
Okay, good deal. Okay, Chris.
That's what I want to see.
No problem.
If that's what y'all want to see something
I don't
different.
have a problem with that either. I'm just
Well, we
saying,
look
we
at all.
don't even know the
Joe and I
number.
will get together, we'll come up with something to satisfy everybody. Hopefully. At least we'll work it out that way. All right, Joe, looks like BJ's up, Director of Finance, for the review of the revenues and general fund
Before I get started.
expenditures. Well, you're gonna be a while? Yes, let's take a
Yeah.
5-minute break, yeah. Well, you shouldn't be too long, you're pretty,
I'm pretty good, but I don't know.
I would like to say that I am very happy that we have BJ on our team. He plays a very important part of our finances, so BJ, thank you for everything you do. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. So tonight, we're going to be giving a brief overview of revenues and general fund, street fund expenses, all revenues and general street
Oh,
fund.
excuse me, 1 second. Please let him make his presentation, and we'll come back to questions. Go ahead, BJ.
Very good. Last year, council requested a balanced budget by February 1st. We done up a calendar and stuck to it. Tonight's the first review of the budget for the enterprise. Hey,
I wasn't trying to interrupt. That's an amazing feat.
yes. It was, yes. I appreciate everybody's help on this. But so we'll review these tonight. 2 weeks we'll review the enterprise funds, and then we'll have another work session before the first vote goes for the tax rates if necessary. So moving ahead here. Proposed budget highlights. Fiscal year 19 proposed budget increased 0.3% when compared to fiscal year 18. Salaries, fringe benefits include a 1.7% raise for all employees that will be effective January 1st, 2019. The 1.7% is based on the 2017 Consumer Price Index. Salaries and fringe benefits include funding for the first phase of the results from the compensation study. On page 8, you'll see a breakdown of all personnel changes, machinery, equipment, vehicles, building structures, and other projects funded and not funded for fiscal year 19 proposed budget. Revenues, they're on page 13 and 14, if you want to follow along your budget book, sorry, it's up to you. But the revenues included in the proposed budget are based on the projections I provided the council there a few weeks ago. They've been updated accordingly based on the best information available. Real estate taxes are proposed to remain at 13.5 cents per $100.
Council may decide to raise, allocate as they see deemed necessary, of course. Personal property taxes proposed to remain the same and have taken into account the mandatory equalization of the personal property tax relief. Additional funding from the real estate taxes has been allocated to special projects to help the debt service for Leech Run Parkway, the town's portion of the match for the community development block grant, and the other special projects. General fund, street fund revenue. Transfers to the general fund from enterprise funds are $24,000 lower than when compared to fiscal year 18. Revenue sharing funds have not been included for fiscal year 19. When I did my presentation for the revenue forecasting, at that point in time, we thought we were getting some revenue sharing from VDOT. We were notified about a week or two ago that we would not be receiving revenue sharing at this time. Staff will return to council when additional information is available regarding the revenue sharing and/or other possible programs the town is seeking. Overall general fund revenue for the proposed budget increase is $67,850. Street fund did decrease $215. Electric fund revenue. Electric revenue is based on electrical rates. An increase in power cost adjustment as proposed by Hawksley Consulting rate. Hawksley Consulting's rate analysis. The electric rates would be proposed from residential charges, facility charges changing from $7 to $8.61. Commercial facility charges changing from $7.16 to $10.81. Demand facility charges changing from $7.16 to $21.76. Power cost adjustment would be adjusted accordingly based on Hawksley and Associates recommendations. Special fund revenue, asset forfeiture remains the same. Revenue received from there. Economic development, this is the portion of the real estate tax that's used to fund the debt service to the EDA as seen on page 47 for reference. Special projects is the fund set aside from the real estate tax revenue for the police department, Leech Run Parkway, West Main Connector, as well as some additional funds from the real estate taxes that are being allocated to the CDBG grant, the town's portion of that, and some additional funding that's necessary due to the real estate tax rate not being having enough allocated for Leech Run Parkway at this point in time. Let's see here. Electric fund revenue. So the fund balance for the electric is around $5.1 million right now. Proposed fiscal year 19 budget for electric totals $20 million, which puts the 3-month reserve just over $5 million before deducting the encumbrances. After deducting the carryover encumbrances and the 3-month reserve, the electric fund balance would be about $800,000 below the 3-month reserve. We have put some capital projects on hold at this time until the reserve levels are replenished. Hawksley Consulting's recommendation would equalize electric rates over a 3-year period to avoid a drastic impact to our citizens. The first increase was effective July 1st, 2017. Second is recommended to be July 1st, 2018. Water sewer revenue. Total water sewer revenues are close to what they were in fiscal year 18. Fiscal year 19 revenue for water is $715 higher than fiscal year 18. Sewer fiscal year 19 revenue is $12,965 more than budgeted for 18. Water sewer connection revenue has been budgeted less. This will allow for any additional revenue collected to roll into fund balance, enable council to allocate to future capital projects accordingly, such as the sewer pumping station we were just discussing earlier, parallel water line, and other possible mandates from DEQ. Funding was included in fiscal year 18 budget for a water sewer rate analysis. The water sewer rate analysis is a water sewer rate increase is not proposed for fiscal year 19. The rate analysis will be performed once additional information is obtained concerning some major capital projects. Sewer revenue of $63,250 has been budgeted to receive money from Warren County to help cover the cost of the new septic hall station for the MOU. Solid waste revenue. Rates are budgeted to remain the same for fiscal year 18. Total solid waste revenue is budgeted to increase $28,025 when compared to fiscal year 18. The increase is due to increased sales of recyclables and increase in services due to a slight increase in residential containers and a sustained amount of commercial customers. Moving on here now, changing gears to the expense side. Personnel highlights. We have a new full-time planner position that's been included with the fiscal year 19 budget. If any council members would like to have it, we do have some backup to support the new position. I'll be happy to hand out. Medical insurance premiums are expected to increase 2.5% and have been incorporated into the proposed budget using the current fiscal year 18 employer-employee allocations, as Joe mentioned earlier. First phase of the compensation study has been incorporated, highlighted separately for each department. Reallocation of 2 positions previously expensed as water sewer line maintenance are now expensed under highway maintenance, which I'll point out as we go through the budget process here. Town council, this is on page 20 in the budget book if anybody's following along. Overall increase of $6,000 there. The increase is under professional services due to an increase in annual auditing contract with Mitchell & Company. The operating expenses for fiscal year 17, that spike there that we see, was due to the expense for the community development position under professional services. That's before we brought the position full-time. Clerk of council, overall increase of $1,260. Increases due to COLA and the increase in medical insurance. Operating expense remains level when compared to 2018. Increase in personnel from fiscal year 17-18 was due to transitioning from full-time to part-time. That's where we see the line kind of going up there. Under the clerk of council, the board of elections includes $13,500 for the November elections. Town manager, overall increase of $18,410. Increase in salaries and benefits of $22,810 due to the town engineer position had only been funded for 75% of 2018. We removed $6,700 that was used for gazebo flicks that's now reclassified under tourism. There was an increase in travel and education of $2,000 to accommodate the town engineer. Total operation expense shows a $4,400 decrease. Human resource and risk management, overall increase of $14,930. Increase of $4,430 for salaries and benefits due to the COLA compensation study and insurance. Increase in $11,000 in advertising is going to be used to fill job vacancies, so we're having to advertise more due to the employee turnover. Insurance and benefits, overall increase of $6,500. Workman comp increased approximately $10,000. General liability decreased by $5,000. The health insurance for retirees increased $1,500 due to the addition of a few more retirees. Fiscal year 16 decrease that we see there is mainly attributed to the workers' comp. Didn't have as many claims, I'm assuming, so it went down. Information technology, overall increase of $14,800. There's an increase of $5,260 in salary and benefits due to the COLA, compensation study, and insurance. Decrease of $20,000 in maintenance and service contracts. We're no longer using the Citrix software. Increase of $4,200 for web page maintenance for Civic Plus. Increase of $28,800 under telecommunication. The fiscal year 18 budget should have been higher for the telecommunication than what was currently budgeted. So we are working through that, but corrected fiscal year 19. There's an increase of hardware software of $5,000. Those are mainly smaller items that are not incorporated into the CIP, and a decrease in capital expense of $11,050. Tourism, overall increase of $36,655. Salary benefits increase of $14,515. Adjusted salary expense for full-time community development person Thank you.
Should say it later.
You really wanted one of those LaCroix, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Okay. So, adjusted salary expense for the full-time community development position, that's where we kind of see the increase here. Includes increases for the compensation study, COLA, and medical insurance. Operating expense increased $22,140. Increase of $4,000 under professional services for revising and updating old ads and redesign of interior of the visitor center. The Artisan trail has been incorporated in there. I knew Felicia was going to talk about that earlier, but save it for a later time. Increase of $3,000 for printing and binding in an attempt to outsource printing of visitor guides. Also reprint outdated brochures. $500 to purchase vests for the staff down there. Displays for the front area of the visitor center, $3,040. Increased travel and education, $1,500 to allow staff to participate in learning programs. Increase dues and memberships of $800 to join a few more organizations. Tourism development, $7,000. That now includes the gazebo flicks that we moved over from the town manager's budget. Also Halloween and other town-sponsored events. The next slide here is community development budget. So, Ms. Hart had requested a community development departmental budget for just community development separate from tourism. Funding for the community development department in the amount of $41,500 has not been incorporated into the fiscal year 19 budget at this time. Town currently has $87,646.96 that's been encumbered from prior years to use for community development. And staff recommends for council to allow us to release a portion of the encumbered funds and approve a fiscal year 19 budget amendment to create the separate departmental budget for community development. Funds that are allocated toward the CDBG in fiscal year 19 could be allocated toward the community development departmental budget in the future. A glance at the $41,500 budget there. Professional services, $25,000 to retain a graphic artist and create a business newsletter. $5,000 for additional brochures, mainly geared toward businesses. $1,000 in advertising, $1,500 postal services, office supplies, $500 books subscriptions, $500 furniture, $1,000 other operating expense, $1,000 travel education, $4,500 dues and memberships, $1,500. Total of $41,500 as requested is going to be requested to be used from the encumbered funds. Sorry, just got over a little bit of a cold, or trying to.
All right.
There's one here. Town attorney, an increase of $3,925. Salaries and benefits increased $3,925 from the compensation study and the COLA. Operating expense remains the same as fiscal year 18. I'd like to talk about there. Finance administration, overall increase of $4,460. Increase again is due to salary benefits from the compensation study, COLA, and insurance. Operating expense remains the same. Finance, billing, and customer service, overall increase of $21,535. This includes $26,440 in salary benefits for COLA, compensation study, and insurance. A little bit of the breakdown. Compensation study was $11,590. Medical insurance increase was $9,625, mainly due to a change in coverages going maybe from single to family. Decrease in operating expense about $2,405. Finance and purchasing, overall increase of $12,280. Increase of $12,130 from salary and benefits due to fully funding the purchasing assistant position. Fiscal year 18 funding only included 75% of the year. Operational expense increased $100 when compared to fiscal year 18. There was a decrease in furniture fixtures by $1,000, an increase in advertising for $1,200 due to the increased expense of advertising for the town's auction. Police administration, Overall increase of $3,210. Salaries and benefits decrease of $1,980. Operation expense increased $5,190. Travel and education increase of $4,500 due to the one-time expense of training new staff. Police patrol, overall increase of $132,905. Salary and benefits increased $82,160. The increase breakdown there a little bit. Compensation study was for $45,190. Line of duty act fund increased by $6,350. Operating expense decrease of $10,320. Decrease in the operating expenses, $7,100 was a decrease for the maintenance service contracts. That maintenance service contract is now under the IT department. A decrease of $7,000 for POL, petroleum oil and lubricants. Increase of $3,500 for travel and education to allow an officer to attend motorcycle training. The increase for capital expenses, $61,065. This includes $128,000 to replace 3 vehicles. All the vehicles will exceed 100,000 miles upon replacement. Includes $50,000 for the first payment of five to replace an analog radio equipment with digital equipment. I do have backup for that as well if anyone is interested in having that.
You have backup to what?
Backup for the radio,
Oh, for
to
radios.
give a little bit more detail as to why I feel it's necessary. Once we finish up here, so I'll be happy to hand that out.
Carry on, BJ.
Alrighty.
Take a break.
Yeah. Police investigation, overall increase of $17,820. Salary benefit increase of $9,000 from the compensation study, COLA and insurance. Operating expense increase $8,820. Maintenance service contract of $4,000 for the cellular forensic software. Travel and education increase of $5,000 for a one-time 9-week training for a new detective, which comprises the operating expense increase there. Police services dispatch, evidence tech and crossing guards. There's an overall increase of $42,475. Salary and benefit increase of $43,010. Includes the COLA and medical insurance. Additional $4,000 under salary and benefits for a crossing guard to be placed at Leash Run Parkway. Compensation study is $26,200 under there. Operational expenses decreased $535. And then I just put a couple of notes over here on the right-hand side to show, help give a little backup as to why it's increased from 2014 to 2019. 2015, starting over there on the bottom, I guess. Communication officer program with salary increases and a reclassification of a position. Fiscal year 16, there was an additional communication officer. Fiscal year 17, we had a new evidence tech and a communication shift supervisor. So just a little background as to why that increased. Police gang drug task force. Overall increase of $7,640. Salary benefits increase of $7,800 for the compensation study. COLA and NPO program. Operating expense did decrease $255. Emergency service, the SWAT. Overall zero change from fiscal year 18 to 19. Not really much to talk about there. Planning and zoning. Overall increase of $32,660. There was a salary benefit increase of $4,160. This does include the $65,000 for the new planner position that we're recommending. Property maintenance funding was moved over to the professional service line item. This year, fiscal year 18, we included funding for property maintenance positions. So we moved that over to the professional services. Operating increase, $31,000. Professional services increased to $30,000 for us to possibly join a joint property maintenance service. Furniture and fixtures increased $1,000 for additional furniture for the new position. Planning boards and commissions, overall 0 change, fiscal year 18 and 19, much to talk about there. Economic development transfers to streets. The transfer from the general fund to the streets decreased from fiscal year 18 to 19. The spike that we see there in fiscal year 17 of 1.2 million is comprised of the $400,000 transfer from the general fund to streets for the Chrysler Road Trail, $331,500 for the slurry seal that we transferred over, and $472,345 was the adopted budget transfer. So just, kind of looks a little off there, just giving a little background on it. As you see, the repayment of the internal loan remains level. That'll end in 2022. That's for this building. Economic development expense increased $200 for fiscal year 19. VML's fees went up. Moving on there, special projects expenses. So this shows the actual expenses from fiscal year 14 to 17 and the budgeted amounts for 18 to 19. The actual expenses for 18 and 19 will differ from the budgeted amounts due to the carried funds. Debt service, economic development is paid to the EDA and ends in 2021. Our asset forfeitures, the green line there at the bottom, pretty much remains level. Our debt services paid to the EDA is the red line in the middle there, and then the black line that we see going up is the Community Development Fund. That includes the money allocated to Leech Run Parkway, the police department, and the actual funds for 18 and 19 will probably increase as we move forward and pay off some of that money that we've been allocated. Fleet management, overall increase of $2,510. Salaries and benefits increased $2,610 due to the COLA. Fiscal year 18 salaries and benefits included a new tech position. That's why we see a little bit of an upswing there. Operating expense decreased by $100. General properties, overall increase of $7,105. Salaries and benefits increase of $7,165 due to the compensation study and COLA. Operating expense increase of $13,440. Professional service includes a $6,000 increase for professional waxing of the floors. It seems to last a little bit longer. Office supply increase of $7,200 for copy paper and envelopes. This department takes care of the expense for all of the town departments on those. Decrease in capital expense of $13,500. Fiscal year 18 included funding for the replacement of a roof. Horticulture, overall increase of $34,405. Salaries and benefits decrease of $11,720 due to staff turnover and changes in insurance coverages. Operational expense increase of $46,125. Professional services under this includes $46,000, includes the outsourcing, mowing of Leech Run Parkway, which is estimated at $28,000, and some tree work at $16,000. Streets, this is the non-VDOT side. Overall increase of $3,090. Salaries and benefits increase of $12,990. This includes the reallocation of the 2 employees that were previously expensed under water sewer line maintenance in the amount of $11,185. 9602, 9802 was the department numbers. And as we go into the enterprise funds, here in 2 weeks you'll see the decrease. The increase is due to compensation study and COLA. Operational expense increase of $20,100. Audit maintenance is increasing $10,000. Additional line item for the crosswalk maintenance of $10,000 has been added. Highway maintenance, a little bit going on here. overall decrease of $311,860. Salaries and benefits increase of $114,215 includes the reallocation of the 2 employees that were previously expensed under water sewer line maintenance, 9602, 9802, the amount of $100,675. Compensation study of $3,145 and COLA and medical insurance changes. Operational expense increase of $50,700. Surveying increase of $5,000 due to the retirement of town staff. Additional line item for curb and gutter for the town's portion of volunteer assessment of $15,000. Kind of a rough estimate for us at this point. Repair and maintenance supply increase of $25,000 due to an increase in usage of stone and asphalt patches. Additional crosswalk maintenance of $30,000. Curb and gutter reconstruction decreased $15,000. Over on the capital expense side, there's a decrease of $476,775, but it does include a purchase of an asphalt roller, year 1 of 5, $30,000. Tandem dump truck, year 3 for $71,000. That was a 91 Ford L8000. I believe the asphalt roller was a 1988, if I remember correctly. Funding of the primary paving project, $153,900. This is paving West 14th Street from North Royal Avenue to North Shenandoah Avenue. Slurry seal of $130,000. Decrease due to less paving projects and concrete reconstruction projects being funded, and also not receiving the revenue sharing from VDOT that we were expecting. Construction inspections. Overall increase of $28,555. Salary and benefit increase of $1,455 for the compensation study, COLA, and medical insurance. Operational expense increase of $9,100. Increase is coming from surveying increase of $6,500 due to town staff retiring. Additional line item, miss utility for $2,500 so we can better track our expenses. Capital expense increase of $18,000. Going to be purchasing line locator, $7,000. This is the replacement of the second line locator. The first was replaced during fiscal year 18, and also a ground penetrating radar machine for $18,000 to help, I believe, see the transect pipe. So I know that was a lot. So I'd be happy to review any questions or go into more detail.
Let me say one thing, guys.
Yes, sir.
It's getting late. Gene, you're local. If you have a lot of questions, could you just see BJ in his office? Jake, you're kind of like out of town. Is there anything that you really want to discuss tonight that you can't reach out another time? Because I know you guys like getting home kind of like 9-ish.
So what's the next steps from here, just so I know?
Well, we're going to be reviewing the enterprise funds at the next work session, and then there's going to be another, a following work session if council wants to, just to discuss anything that's outstanding or what have you.
Just what was the total, I don't know if it's, you can email it to me too, but the total revenue, or I'm sorry, the total expense increase to the budget, I thought it said in here that it was 0.3%.
Yeah, that was the budget increase. So, it would, I mean,
That includes enterprise funds then?
Yeah, it would include revenues and expenses, and yes, enterprise. Correct.
Since we just covered the general fund, what was the percentage of the increase in general fund? You can email it to me.
It should be about $60,000 out of $10 million.
Really?
Yeah, $64,155 out of general fund. Now, that doesn't include your street fund and your special fund. But I can email you breakdown.
Sure, I was just trying to do the math because it seemed like every line item was an increase. So I don't mind, I just was trying to figure out how it balanced.
How it balanced?
Yeah.
I can send you some information.
Okay, that'd be great.
Gary, you're out of town working. You got any questions tonight that you need to answer? Bill, do you mind doing the same thing Gene and I are going to do? Joe, Gene, Bill, myself, we'll get with BJ if we have any questions. Jake has already asked questions that he needs from BJ. Is there anything you have to say to council?
No, as any questions come up, channel to BJ or me. We're going to come into the next work session and talk about the enterprise funds and move forward from there.
Good deal.
That council's
Just
correct.
one question.
Sure.
BJ, we transferred a certain percentage on the enterprise to the general fund. What percentage is that? Is that the
It
same
changes.
or more?
No, it changes. It's based on a formula. If you look at the, actually, it's in the back of the budget book here. It is, real quick. It's on page 72. Kind of gives you a breakdown of all the percentages. And it's based on the salary and operating expenses for those departments that obviously help the enterprise funds. But it's also based on the revenue of the enterprise funds as to how much can go into the general fund. So it's a couple different things.
Are they based on Mitchell's, the way he told us we needed to do that?
Correct, that is correct.
Is that what you're basing this
Yes,
percentage?
it is, and, yes, and it gives the amount that's allowed from the formula, and then shows the amount that we're actually allocating.
870,
I'm sorry?
871?
72.
72.
Yes, sir.
All right, number 9, council discussion goals. Anybody have anything they would like to bring up before we go into close? Bill, would you like to take us into close, please? Yes.